Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News. Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m., sometimes a little bit before. Um, Monday through Friday, and my name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Just pulling my notes up here. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Wednesday. And today is our Women in Wellness Wednesday. It's open mic. So I've checked my emails. I didn't see any email requests to be live here with me on the broadcast, or you can send me a direct message on X and I can bring you on the show. So thank you again so much for joining me here this morning. Let's start out with our trending topics on X. And hi, good morning, Clark's Gaming Galaxy. Thank you so much for joining me here this morning. This was actually a video I came across yesterday. I didn't get to bring it up yesterday, but this is interesting. So AOC flew to Alabama to tell Southerners they have nothing to fear from inside a bulletproof cage. So the message, I believe in you, just not enough to stand near you. So I think there is some audio of her speaking. So let's see what she's got to say.
Have to make sure that we all understand that Montgomery is not alone, that you all are not alone. And for all of those watching today, when they ask, what do we do in this moment? I feel helpless. What action can I take? It is time for the North to pull up to the South. It is time for New York to pull up to Alabama. It is time for all of us to come to Georgia, to Louisiana, to Tennessee, to Mississippi, and let them know exactly what they have uncorked with this injustice. They think they can draw us out of power. They do not know the sleeping giant that they just awakened. I want to make sure that we all understand.
Okay. Did anybody understand that? Because I didn't understand any of it. And good morning, Clarks. This is how are you? I'm doing. Okay. But until this video, what are we talking about? Wait a minute. She said it's time for the North to pull up to the South. I need you to understand. Understand what? Can anybody explain to me what she just said? Because it was a bunch of words. But she's a good hype person, I guess. Because here's the problem. People in the North think individuals in the South are just uneducated hicks, and they just need to come down from the North and just educate you and refine you because, apparently you're outside walking barefoot or something and you just don't know what to do. Do you realize where agriculture comes from? It doesn't come from the North. It comes from the South. Your peaches, your oranges, your green beans, your collard greens. Why? Because the earth is a little bit richer. The humidity actually helps with the nitrates in the ground, in the soil, to grow the food that you eat in the North, where you don't produce anything really. You produce corn in Indiana because I was born there. So yeah, there's corn that they actually turn into ethanol. But yeah, in a way, AOC, you're being very condescending, I would say. Awake what, sleeping giant, of what? Of communism? Is that what you're talking about? It's weird. It's weird. Like I said, when I came across it yesterday, I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Now this one's also very interesting. So this is Jesse Waters, and this one he also came out 2 days ago, actually, discussing something going on with the J6 report.
Fox News alert, the Justice Department just released the bombshell report that we've been waiting for. What actually happened on January 6th? The FBI had 26 confidential human sources there that day. 26. A confidential human source is a guy the FBI pays to spy for them. Of the 26 confidential human sources who were in D.C. on Jan 6th, 4 entered the Capitol during the riot. An additional 13 entered the restricted area around the Capitol. So more than a dozen FBI spies participated in the so-called insurrection. A bunch of them broke into the Capitol. Their own inspector general says this is what happened. But that's not what they told you when they testified under oath.
Those who were there in an undercover capacity on January 6th, how many were there?
Again, I'm not sure that I can give you that number as I sit here. I'm not sure there were undercover agents on scene.
I thought I heard you say you didn't know whether there were FBI agents or informants or human sources in the Capitol or in the vicinity on January 6th. Did I misunderstand you? I thought that's what you said.
Well, I referred very specifically to undercover agents.
Yeah. And so are you acknowledging then there were undercover agents?
As I sit here right now, I do not believe there were undercover agents on scene.
The inspector was hiding something, so Congress asked the question a different way. Listen.
Did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters inside the Capitol on January the 6th prior to the doors being open?
Again, I had to be very careful.
It should be a no. Can you not tell the American people no? We did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol.
Gentleman's time has expired.
You should not read anything into my decision not to share information.
Director Ray,
confidential.
Gentleman's time.
Ray's right. The FBI didn't have undercover agents at January 6th. They had confidential human sources. So what's the difference? Well, a confidential human source doesn't get health insurance or a pension. They're just freelancing for the feds. Rats in MAGA hats. They're basically paid informants that the FBI runs at headquarters. A lot of these FBI rats get picked up on some other charge. They get sat down and the FBI says, you're going to work for me now. And if you don't, you're looking at 20 years to life. So these guys say, yes, sir. And they cozy up to people like the Proud Boys and anyone the feds wants to watch and control from the inside. And these confidential human sources are under pressure to deliver. What does deliver mean? It means intelligence and big busts that get the FBI good headlines. According to the Inspector General report, the spies were feeding the FBI intel that said January 6th was going to get a little hairy. But FBI headquarters did nothing about it and then lied to Congress and said they did. So why did headquarters let January 6th get so out of hand? And what were all these FBI spies doing that day and the days before? Were they riling everyone up like they did in the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot? In that case, the FBI informants instigated the plot. They even used an FBI credit card to buy the ammo, supplies, and hotel rooms. Did the FBI pay for Jan 6 hotel rooms? We don't know. Remember, the media and the Democrats said this whole thing was a conspiracy.
Where do you think this idea comes from, that this was somehow done by the feds?
I heard that one of the debaters said it was an inside job. Is an inside job on the part of Donald Trump and his henchmen.
Republicans have blamed the FBI and said it was an inside job.
It certainly was not an inside job by FBI agents or Antifa. They go around blaming it on Antifa and FBI agents.
Well, how did the media know it wasn't an inside job when the FBI had 26 of their people on the inside? January 6th certainly benefited the media, the FBI and the Democrats. 1,500 arrests, humiliated Trump, got him impeached, criminalized the MAGA movement. Trump got indicted over January 6th, remember? They tried to throw him in prison over this. The January 6th committee, it's all Democrats did for 2 years. Why didn't the committee find any of these snitches? They did a one-sided investigation and teed up Garland to charge Trump so they could run against a convicted felon. So the media is going to apologize, right? No. The media today is cherry-picking the report to say there were no undercover agents there on January 6th. The whole thing's a conspiracy. These aren't articles. They're FBI press releases. And they wonder why their ratings are trash and no one trusts them. It's because of this. They don't want the truth. They want to hide it if it hurts the left. And they can't admit they were wrong because it's too embarrassing. And they were a part of the cover-up. But the FBI is worse than the media. The FBI knew what was in this report. They covered it up before the election. And then the director says he's resigning the day before it comes out. Give me a break. This kind of sliminess is why Trump nominated Kash Patel. I wonder what else Kash is going to find in the bureau when he looks under the hood.
As a former federal prosecutor and a public defender who defended a lot of these types of cases, what you need to show is whether or not the FBI and government agents were using undercover operatives and informants on the day of January 6th. Once you prove that, then you defeat the insurrection narrative with the FBI's own documentation.
And what does this report do to the January 6th defendants? None of the confidential informants were arrested or charged. These guys were right alongside everyone, walking into the Capitol. But you're in prison for years? Now, if you're a defense attorney for a Jan 6er and this drops after the case was decided, that could change everything. Constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley says this, quote, "There is a question of why the confidential human sources who entered the Capitol were not charged as part of an operation that the Justice Department described as an effort to shock and awe, targeting everyone involved that day. This report does not find specific wrongdoing or direction from confidential human sources in the rioting. Congress, however, is likely to seek more information on these sources and their conduct on the day." Are you allowed to commit crimes as a spy for the FBI and not get charged? Because they said this was the greatest attack on democracy ever. Said it was up there with 9/11. Traitors, they said, seditionists, they're off scot-free. You can try to overthrow the government if you're an FBI rat and just walk away. Congress has to find out. And what does this mean for pardons? I mean, the Hunter Biden pardon already greased the runway for Trump, but this reports all the ammo Trump needs. He told Time magazine, it's going to start in the first hour, maybe the first 9 minutes. Now, if I were president, I don't think I'd pardon J6ers who were slugging cops, but if you were wandering around peacefully, come on. And it's not just Kash Patel that's going to clean house. Tulsi's on deck.
I'm here with Tulsi Gabbard. She's here on the Hill meeting with my colleagues. She's going to be a great DNI, Director of National Intelligence. It's a really important job. It oversees all of our intelligence agencies, and it's in need of reform. I think everybody would admit that. And so we need to bring in a reformer.
Now, the deep state's never been this backed into a corner, ever. We have Trump assassination files that we want to release, JFK assassination files, COVID files, Epstein, Diddy. What about that pipe bomb? Is the FBI still working on that one? Who planted that? It's just another conspiracy theory that you were right about. The lab leak, the laptop, and now Jan 6. No wonder Biden's under pressure to dish out more pardons. Who knows how high this thing goes?
Yeah. Wow. It's just like I've got so many questions because there is that complaint of the auto pen, right? Because the January 6th committee, they were all pardoned. Biden pardoned his family, not just his son, but he pardoned his family dating back to 2014. You need to really look up some of the pardons that he did. So my question is, were these 26 people pardoned? I'm just saying. Were they randomly pardoned under the auto pen? That's a bigger question. And I hear where, Mr. Waters is coming from. Very, very crazy. Very crazy. Let's check this out. Now, this has to do.
So George's.
This is still dealing with the data centers in Georgia. And currently there's 162 data centers already, and they still plan to build 141 more. There actually is a halt on a data center in Camden County. Kind of glad that they are doing that to take the time to find out what this data center is actually supposed to contribute to the area, or if it will bring devastation to the area.
So Georgia's just going to be one big data center. You guys, that is not one data center. That number right there is how many are right here. Also, I just found out that data centers don't even have to legally report how much water they use. Just when you think it can't get any worse, Georgia Power is taking people's property and homes through eminent domain to expand their high voltage power lines to support these data centers. Now, the lovely interns at Science for Georgia have made some interactive maps. The black spots are current data centers. The orange ones are ones that are coming. Look at the numbers just in this area. So these are the current operational estimates for water usage in Georgia. Now, why is this an estimate? Oh yeah, that's right, because they don't legally have to report how much water they're using. However, Senator Durbin out of Illinois has proposed this Water and Energy Transparency Act. The data centers would need to report their energy and water use, and this was just introduced in March. But then I was like, aren't they paying for water by the gallon? They are, and in fact, usually at a much lower rate than you and I. They negotiate rates. Google, for example, paid $6.08 per 1,000 gallons, whereas the locals were paying $10.80 for 1,000 gallons. But just because they're paying for it doesn't mean they have to report it. Now, Project Sail, the 829-acre data center that is coming to Coweta County, Georgia, Georgia Power is set to demolish 2230 homes because they need to expand the power lines. And they are doing this through eminent domain, which is the government's right to take your property if they need it for public use. And in this case, Georgia Power is a public use company. Now, they have to give these people fair market value for their homes and properties. From what I've heard, Georgia Power is not trying to do that.
No, because a lot of these homes, obviously, they've appreciated over time. And Fayetteville is one of the cities in Coweta County, and those homes have quadrupled in price. It's very interesting because you can pay more in property taxes, but if a entity wants to buy your property and they have to give you fair market value, they're trying to get it at a discount. It's disgusting. These data centers are literally destroying people's lives, and it needs to stop. If it's not a benefit, then it needs to not be. It's not a highway, so it's not making travel more efficient. It's not a vehicle, so it's not making transportation more efficient. It's not an education source, so our children aren't getting any smarter. It's definitely not a benefit to the environment because you're using more water. You don't produce anything, and everything that's the runoff destroys the environment around you. Again, I want somebody to tell me, what is the benefit of these data centers? Because it's just disgusting what's happening right now. And it needs to truly, truly stop. Now, the next video I'm going to get into is about the election, the primary election results here in Georgia.
We now know former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms will be the Democratic nominee for governor.
Yeah, and on the Republican side, it's down to Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones and businessman Rick Jackson, both of whom advanced to next month's runoff election. So let's get out to.
Interesting how Raffensperger only got 15%. Now, had he not run, Burt Jones would pretty much be the nominee right now. Burt Jones would be done. So we're going to see what happens with Raffensperger because, he still didn't give up the position of Secretary of State. I think. I'm not sure. He's still working in capacity of Secretary of State. I should say that. But let's see who else got nominated.
Mark Teichner. He is live right now from the state capitol with more on the race to replace Governor Kemp. Mark, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. And what a runoff this will likely be. This has been no love loss between Jackson and Jones leading up to the primary, and it likely will continue to be the case for the next 4 weeks.
I love getting this guy one-on-one. I can promise you that.
Top vote getter, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, is looking forward to the next 4 weeks. That's the time he has to convince Republican voters they should pick him over businessman Rick Jackson to be their nominee for governor. Jones, who touts President Trump's endorsement, calls himself a workhorse and accused Jackson of trying to buy the election.
We've had over $100 million spent against us. Most of them are attack ads on myself, my family, just whatever they could make up.
I have news for Burt. He isn't going to win the runoff.
Jackson, who reportedly has already spent more than $50 million on his own campaign, calls himself an outsider who doesn't owe anything to lobbyists. He accused Jones of being an all-talk, no-results politician.
I think it's safe to say we shook up the career politicians and insiders to their core.
Georgians sent a clear message tonight that they want a fighter.
On the Democratic side.
Okay, not all Georgians voted for you, ma'am. Let's understand. Democrats voted for you, not Republicans. Again, you want to say, oh, it's everybody. No, it's not everybody. Because you do have to choose whether you're going to vote Democratic or Republican. Now, if it was truly an open primary, you would see everybody on the ballot. You would see Democrats, you would see Republicans, you would see everything. But they don't have it that open. Now, in California, they do. They do just have one ballot. It's got everybody on it, no matter what position they're running for. It doesn't matter. You don't have to say I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat just to have those names come up on the ballot like it is in Georgia. So it's a little bit different.
Former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms easily won the nomination. By avoiding a runoff, she can concentrate her time and money on the November election. Bottoms vows to stand up to President Trump and says both of her potential Republican opponents are only interested in enriching themselves.
Georgia, the power is in our hands. Go let them know.
That's a scary thought.
That runoff election is going to take place on June 16th. The early voting starts on June 8th. And just a reminder, you can only vote in the runoff if you participated in the primary for that individual party. So if you voted in the primary for the Democrats, you can do a Democratic runoff, but not the Republican and vice versa. Reporting live from the state capitol, I'm Mark Teichner for Good Day Atlanta.
All right, well, voters also get another chance to decide who will face off against Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff.
Now, none of the Republican candidates claimed the majority of the vote, so now Mike Collins and Derek Dooley will each try to prove why they should be on the November ballot.
So Good Day's Lindsay Tuman live downtown now with the details on that race. Lindsay, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, Paul and Natalie. And just like Mark was talking about, another really closely watched race, one that certainly folks are going to be participating in this time around as well. Now, with 99% of the precincts reporting, we're looking at Mike Collins taking about 41% of votes last night, and Derek Dooley claimed 30%. So even with that spread, Dooley says he is confident that they have momentum on their side and that they're going to be the ones on the ballot in in November. So the stakes are high for the entire country with this race. Jon Ossoff is the only Democratic senator in the country seeking re-election this year. And the candidates running against him are starkly different. Dooley is a lawyer and a former football coach, and this is the first time he's been running for a public office. He says the fact that he's a political outsider is his strength, and he's pushing for term limits, tighter controls on legislators as well. Meanwhile, Mike Collins says his track record in Congress is what makes him the better candidate, citing the two pieces of legislation he helped push through, including the Lincoln-Riley Act.
I ran because I was sick of watching the careerism that's going on up there, the corruption that's going on up there, the inaction where there's a lot of yelling and screaming and nobody's getting anything done.
With me as a nominee, you're not just going to get to replace Jon Ossoff, but you're going to replace a Democrat with an actual conservative who will fight, and I mean fight.
Yeah, well, the Ossoff campaign released a statement about this last night. It said in part that the candidates will, quote, limp into a month-long race to the bottom that will surely leave both broke and unelectable. And again, that runoff set for June the 16th. Reporting live in downtown, I'm Lindsay Tuman for Good Day Atlanta.
All right, Lindsay, we appreciate the update. Thank you. Meanwhile, there's also a runoff for Georgia's lieutenant governor between Democratic candidates Josh McLaurin and Nabila Parks. Republican State Senator John F. Kennedy will advance to a runoff for the Republican nomination with State Senator Greg Dolezal. And Representative Jasmine Clark won the Democratic nomination to succeed late Representative David Scott for Georgia's 13th congressional district. Scott, of course, passed away in April while seeking another term. Meanwhile, Jonathan Chavez ran unopposed for the Republican nomination. So we're going to have a full list of results scrolling here at the bottom of your screen and on our website, fox5atlanta.com. And your time right now is...
Yeah, so sorry about the little interruption here. Passing some things back and forth to my husband. But yeah, so those are pretty much the outline of the results. So they're going to have a runoff in June. So please make sure if you voted on the Republican side, okay, now this is primarily for the Republican side. If that's the way you voted in this primary election, then you need to show up to vote in the runoff. Okay, it's almost like it's more important than the election because it really determines who's going to be the official moving forward for November, right? So this is not over, right? This is not over. We still have to get to November to make sure that good people are in office. You know, yeah, I am very opinionated about Lance Bottoms because it's like, she was the mayor and then all of those things, happened, fell apart with the quote unquote summer of love. And then she just kind of disappeared. She didn't disappear. She went to go work for the Biden administration. I'm like, why didn't you finish being the mayor, then go work for the Biden administration? Why in the middle of your term, you just left? Well, it was debacle that happened in the city of Atlanta. And you really think we want you to run the state? Like, I can't trust you. I mean, I cannot trust you because what if the same thing happens? The state is falling apart and you're just going to whisk off to Washington, D.C. and then somebody else finish the rest of it. It was weird. It still is, and everybody wants to welcome her back with open arms and be like, oh, yay, kumbaya. And I'm like, no, I'm not kumbaya in this. You don't get brownie points for going to Washington and abandoning your city. I have a lot more respect for you if you would have stayed and fixed it, but you didn't. And the person that's there that says they're fixing it wants to include everybody over Black people and then turn around to Black people and say, hey, we still need your support for nothing. Yeah, it's gross. It's gross what is happening in Fulton County. And it's a disgrace. And it's disgusting and it needs to be fixed. So hopefully it will get fixed through these elections. Again, there are a lot of Republicans that do not run at the local level for any seats in Fulton County because it's so Democratic. And that's disgusting to me. We need some people to run with the Redemption Party in Fulton County. So if you are in Fulton County or any parts of Georgia and you want to run as a candidate with the Redemption Party, please reach out to usaredemptionparty.com. That's usaredemptionparty.com, so we can work on getting you on the ballot for an elected position so you can make a change and be a servant of the people. Now, the next video we're going to get into, it's a Promethean update. It's a short, and then we're going to get into another long form video from them, but let's check out the short first.
A lot of is the conventional wisdom about midterm elections, i.e. the party in power loses. Well, my message is very straightforward. This is neither a conventional midterm, nor is this a conventional president. So please don't try and apply previous rules. And as Barbara just indicated, I think what just happened in Indiana is extremely important, because all of the talking heads, so much of what in the social media sphere is the terrible shape that Trump is in, or he's selling out, or he's going to be destroyed by high gas prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all of that is pretty much in the world of normal politics. We're in a revolution, and that's what people have to understand. And I think that is the message that people have to think through. How do you communicate that as we're organizing for the midterms? This is not your typical one from column A or one from column B, but rather we're building an entirely new restaurant with an entirely new menu. And it's called the American system, and it's called a world of sovereign nations. And that's where people have to put their heads. So I think people have to put their heads into the same space as President Trump. He often does outrageous things when even we here sometimes go, ouch, did he have to do that? And then you realize, yeah, he did, because he is just in a completely different place in terms of creating a brand new future, breaking the globalist constraints, which have gotten tighter and tighter for over 100 years. And he's just not playing their game any longer. So I think it's extremely important. And I think, as Barbara said, as soon as he gets back from China and we dot the I's and cross the T's with the Iran conflict, and again, you can't say for certainty that it'll be smooth sailing. But once you get that more or less under control, I think he is going to be out of the gate on the question of the economy in ways that you have never seen before. And of course, our job here at Promethean Action is to magnify that.
Yeah. I like how we say, ouch. I think a lot of people do. that man, there are certain times where like, woo wee, okay. He is, he's doing things. Now, here is a longer form video from Promethean, and this one is talking about the recent visit to China.
Talking about what Trump and Xi did or didn't agree to in Beijing. But the real story is something no corrupted City of London envoy, no Keir Starmer, no Mark Carney will ever have. Trump and Xi have a personal friendship, and that friendship is totally rewiring global economic and strategic relationships. Vladimir Putin heads to Beijing Tuesday to get briefed. And London is screaming because once again, Trump has outfoxed them by just being himself. I'm Barbara Boyd, and I've followed the clash between the British financial empire and Donald Trump's American system economics since 1971, when Nixon crashed Bretton Woods and London became the world's financial power again. Today, I'm telling you about the most important thing to come out of Trump's China visit, why Mark Carney can't stop it, and why London's Democrat insurgency here is taking major body blows. But first, hit the like button and share this video. It increases our reach on YouTube. Now, what really happened in China? Well, here's the real story about China. Xi gave Trump a tour of the secret garden housing his government, a tour he says he shared previously only with President Putin. Yes, there were trade deals, but personal relationship is the point. The backdrop: Trump has moved aggressively to take China out of the Western Hemisphere, Panama, Venezuela, potentially Cuba. The Iran war endangers China's petroleum-dependent economy. But while China is Iran's main customer, most of China's oil and gas come from Russia and other Gulf states Iran keeps attacking. So with all this trouble for China, why does Donald Trump get the secret garden tour previously reserved for Putin? Because Trump is making the strategic situation with China open and stable, just like he did with Putin in Alaska. The U.S. and China are in a race for the scientific and technological discoveries that will define the next generation. The visit began establishing the guardrails for that race based on the personal friendship between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping. Was the Iran war discussed? Of course, including this from the president yesterday. For Iran, the clock is ticking, and they better get moving fast, or there won't be anything left of them. Time is of the essence. Trust comes only from personal friendship. They don't teach that at Harvard's Kennedy School or Georgetown. In fact, they teach the opposite. Here's Marco Rubio talking about the U.S. and China.
And China now dominates that market. So I always said it, and I always said it when I was in the Senate. China's doing what I would do if I were Chinese and I were a Chinese leader. They are trying to dominate the world in all these key industries of the future. We may not like it, but that's what they're going to do because they're acting in their best interest. We have to act in our best interest. I'm the Secretary of State of the United States, and before that, as you pointed out, a senator for the United States.
And that oil shock that was supposed to kill China's economy? Well, cargo to China is getting through, and Treasury Secretary Bessent has lifted U.S. sanctions on Russian exports. Conservative Treehouse makes a similar observation about deepened trust being the whole point of the visit. He notes that right after last year's Alaska summit, Russia started producing massive amounts of natural gas and storing it on ships with no immediate buyer. Was the Iran action being planned covertly even then? Xi plays the long game of physical economic development. He recognizes that Donald Trump is a master of the same game. Trump is seizing the market for oil and gas for the United States worldwide, for allies the United States can trust. At the same time, Trump is making the nuclear investments to lead the next century. That's leverage few others see, but Xi sees it clearly. His economy depends on it. Now, if you're starting to see that the real dynamics shaping events aren't anything the media will say or print, get a free newsletter at PrometheanAction.com. We'll give you the orientation you need to fight the present war for our republic. Now, Democrats here and their City of London friends think they have a plan to defeat Donald Trump and his new strategic map. Right now, they're cheering Iran on. They hope Iran wins or at least traps Trump in a long war. Their support for Iran, of course, is only prolonging the war. Blame them for the price at the pump. They've anointed candidate Mark Carney as their international spokesperson. Carney went to Davos in January and said Trump destroyed the rules-based order from which these people massively profited. Carney said the middle powers must now act together against China and the U.S. Last week, he met with Barack Obama and other Democrat officials to plot their third way in elections here. But there's a huge problem. This isn't Carney's first attack on the United States. His whole career has been spent trying and failing to take down the dollar as the world's reserve currency. First, let's look at London's attempted capture of China. As governor of the Bank of England from 2013, Carney was George Osborne's hand-picked instrument for what they called the Golden Era, the city's project to become the Western capital of Chinese finance. Under Carney, the UK became the first G7 country to sign a currency swap with Beijing, the first to issue renminbi sovereign debt, and the first to host People's Bank of China bond issuance outside China. The UK also joined China's Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank over U.S. objection. The idea was to spread green energy infrastructure throughout Eurasia for mutual profit. Key UK personnel, like former UK Treasury official Sir Danny Alexander, had key posts there. The Golden Era project collapsed over controversies over Huawei, Hong Kong, and COVID. The second project was the BRICS. Carney spent 13 years at the London branch of Goldman Sachs, the same firm whose chief economist, Joe O'Neill, coined BRICS as the framework for a non-Western financial order. The outcome there? The BRICS haven't replaced the dollar because they can't. The United States is no longer in managed decline as it was under Biden. It's thriving under Trump, who is striving to make separate deals with all of the BRICS countries. Next, Carney tried to sell replacing the dollar with a synthetic currency. At Jackson Hole in August 2019, while still the BOE's governor, Carney urged central banks to replace the U.S. dollar with a, quote, synthetic hegemonic currency delivered through central bank digital currencies. The outcome? The proposal was rejected by the Fed and ignored by the markets. Finally, the coup de grace, trying to make green finance the globalist controller of all capital investment. As UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance, Carney built the Green Finance Initiative for Net Zero to direct $130 trillion in private capital toward, quote, transition assets, with the City of London and Chinese green tech as primary beneficiaries. But Donald Trump obliterated the Green New Deal, and BlackRock and JP Morgan exited the alliance in January 2025. So Carney isn't the new shaman for a third way. He's the undertaker of the old one, trying to rebrand it as a renaissance. Keir Starmer was his partner. Just look at this mass protest in London on Saturday against unchecked immigration and financial looting. Does it look like their product enjoys mass support? Which brings us right back to the United States. 3 weeks ago, the doom scrollers had a story they loved. Trump was going to get shellacked in the midterms. The base was demoralized. Democrats were measuring the drapes. What a difference the run-up to the China trip made. While the president was in Beijing starting the reordering of the global economy, his team here was delivering the accountability voters have been waiting 9 years to see. Here's Acting Attorney General Todd Bench with Maria Bartiromo yesterday.
Well, there's a ton of evidence that the election was rigged. That's not something the DOJ needs to tell you about. There's been evidence about that for many, many years. What I can tell you is that we have multiple investigations going on in Arizona, in Georgia, in Fulton County, Georgia, and that's exactly what we're looking at. By the way, this is very difficult because they're very good. They're very good at hiding up misconduct and hiding what they're doing. And so that's why we're very focused on finding out whether the right people voted, whether people who were supposed to vote voted, whether there was one vote cast per voter. And that's what we're doing in multiple states.
Yes, the 2020 election was rigged, and the DOJ is looking at multiple prosecutions. How's that for a Sunday admission? Then Blanche pinned the Russiagate coup on Barack Obama directly.
The whole Russia hoax, there was absolutely nothing to it. And so the question that the American people have to ask is, well, then why did they do it? Why did Comey say what he said? Why did the outgoing Obama administration do what they did? And that's what we're studying right now, because it did great damage to this country. It did great damage to President Trump's first term. And we want to understand why that happened, why there continued to be an effort by operatives in the government to go after President Trump while he was in office, and then, of course, over the past several years as well.
And it's not just Blanche. Here's Vice President Vance on the National Fraud Task Force, converting investigation into convictions and recovering the trillions in entitlement and program fraud that has quietly funded the Democratic Party machine for a generation.
Well, we just have to prosecute as much as we can, and we have to accept that, yes, there are going to be some blue states that fight us, but that doesn't mean we can't do our job. And for every person that slips through the cracks because of a crooked judge, we're going to get 10 people who actually go to prison or suffer real consequences for it. And we're also saving the American people a lot of money. You know, one of the things I've learned as vice president, I think the president, of course, appreciated this from his first term, is that you can have a rock solid case. You can have a fraudster. You can have them dead to rights. You can have them literally in a text message confessing to the crime. But sometimes you're still going to have corrupt judges. I think it drives home the importance of getting better judges in the system, but also going after this stuff in a number of ways.
The voters can feel it. Ask Bill Cassidy, the Louisiana rhino who voted to convict Trump in 2021. He just got resigned from his office by Louisiana voters. And the political revolution isn't happening just in Washington, it's happening in Los Angeles. Spencer Pratt's insurgent campaign for LA mayor is doing what the Republican establishment has been incapable of for 30 years. Speaking out loud what millions of Americans know but have been trained to shut up about. He's doing it with AI ads that get past the gatekeepers, hitting the issues Carney's friends spent years trying to bury. Parents who don't recognize their own cities, schools, and culture anymore. Here's my new favorite.
All right, class, great job today.
Hey, I have to tell you something. Promise you won't get mad? I'm voting for Spencer Pratt.
Get mad?
I'm voting for Spencer Pratt too.
Did someone mention Spencer Pratt? No?
No.
Oh, because I'm actually voting for him.
Oh, so are we. I just don't know if we can say that too loud over here.
Say what? Spencer Pratt? He's got my vote. Wait, is everyone here voting for Spencer Pratt?
His hidden constituents are the moms. Meanwhile, here's what the current mayor of Los Angeles is offering: teeth for meth addicts. Because, in her words, you can't succeed without good teeth.
How many people who are unhoused that you meet have no teeth at all? They don't have teeth. Why? Because meth rots your teeth. You can't succeed without teeth. So there needs to be comprehensive health care provided to people.
That is the Democratic.
Wait. I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing because people are addicted to meth. Are you serious? Their teeth? They're addicted to a substance where they are literally out of their minds and can take another person's life, and you're talking about their teeth? Karen Bass is an embarrassment. And Spencer Pratt is going to beat her. But looking at that commercial, it's kind of weird because I guess I'm a little bit more outspoken who I'm going to vote for, and I don't care what other people think. If you're going to ask me who I'm going to vote for and you want an actual answer, I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to back down and be like, oh, I can't say anything. Yeah, I'm going to tell you who I'm going to vote for. And if you don't like it, leave. Don't ask me. But that's just me. I'm not that kind of clutching pearls kind of person. Just saying.
Party Mark Carney's Third Way is charged with cleaning up and selling. That's the brand Keir Starmer can't defend in the streets of London. And that's the brand that loses to a reality TV star with an iPhone and an AI generator because reality has shifted in ways the elites and their media lackeys can't understand. Mark Carney can give all the Davos speeches he wants. Keir Starmer can shuffle his cabinet. The protests in the UK streets tell you everything. The people they've been looting for decades are done. So are the Russians, the Chinese, and leaders who aren't blind everywhere. That's the real story coming out of Beijing. Now London's elites, their friends in the EU, and the Democratic allies here are badly wounded. But they're not out of the action yet. And there's nothing more dangerous than a wounded and desperate beast. We need to really expand Promethean action ahead of the midterms. We need to tell the story of what this president has and is accomplishing. And we find every single day that those accomplishments are blocked, particularly by state party machines who cower before establishment consultants and politicians. Join us in this fight. Become a paid subscriber by making a larger contribution to help us grow and by getting out our material in your area. The links are in the description. This has been your Monday Brief. Thanks for watching.
Please take a moment and subscribe to our free newsletter.
Yeah, that was a good briefing. That was a good briefing. And now I'm going to follow that up with a quick commercial from our sponsor, which is LifeWave. And this is talking about their new product, which is a water dispenser.
Water sustains life. But what if it could do more than hydrate? What if it could deliver light directly into the body? Introducing the LifeWave X2O water technology system, the first and only water technology system that infuses water with light. Using patented light infusion technology, the result is hydration optimized at the cellular level, supporting metabolism and nutrient absorption. And through hydrogen infusion, delivering antioxidant properties that support the body's natural defenses. When hydration works at the cellular level, you feel it where it matters. You drink it, you feel it. A new era in cellular hydration, powered by light. LifeWave X2O.
Yes, and for more information on that amazing product, you can check out Noni CMS LLC at gmail.com. That's Noni CMS LLC at gmail.com. And you can get more information about that wonderful LifeWave product. And very proud to be a LifeWave distributor. Now, let's get into some more news. I'm Now I'm going to play this video. I'm not playing it to get offended. I'm playing it to just establish maybe why another event possibly occurred.
Immigrant harassing American shopper at Walmart. This is ridiculous. Check this out.
Because I video when I'm in public and I'm shopping?
No, don't take a video.
Why? I don't care about what you're allowed to do.
No, don't take a video.
Don't tell Americans what to do. I video record.
No, we're not allowed to post in public.
I don't. No, I am in America.
She's taking a video from us.
Can you back her up? I literally am recording myself looking at jeans and she's running up on me. No, you need to back up. I don't care. Back up.
You can take a video. No.
Watch your mouth. You're allowed to cuss? Watch your mouth. Like literally. No, can I don't care. But in America, we can record in public. I don't care. Yeah, to record in public. First Amendment. So what? Go back to where you came from. We're in America. Here, I'll get a close up.
If you post this video,
I'm posting. I'm live right now. I'm live right now. I'm literally live on Facebook. Literally live. So I don't need to post. But you need to stop messing with Americans. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? Yeah, we'll see. I'll stand right here then. Let's see. Let's see if Walmart's going to stand up. Let's see if Walmart's going to stand up for your religious beliefs. I can't record myself shopping now. I was recording myself looking at the clearance. And you ran up on me and told me what to do. That was very weird. Why did you just park right here? Are you just butting in? Another American, right? Yeah, get management over here. This is ridiculous. Don't worry, I won't come back here. They can ask me to leave. They can ask me to leave. I'll never come back. I promise I'll never come back. This is America. What is wrong with you guys? I don't care about Muslim. What are you talking about? So I'm supposed to care more about you? Aren't you guys supposed to be working? They were literally standing over there running their mouth. Yeah, they're on the clock, running their mouth and messing with customers. And apparently, she just wants to get right in the middle of it. Yeah, have a good day.
No, you're not leaving.
I'm going wherever I want. You think you're about to stop me from leaving? I don't work for Walmart. Are you crazy?
I work.
I don't.
You need to delete that video.
No, I'm not going to delete it. You're not going to tell me what to do. Are you crazy?
And you can't take a video from people. Right?
I can take a video in public in America. You better leave me alone. Yeah, please go back to work. No, you're not going to stop me.
Take a video and post in public.
But I am. I'm allowed.
But then why you been taking video from?
Are you getting violent? Back up. No. Now I'm literally intentionally videoing this. I was video recording clearance. But now I'm intentionally recording this. There goes another one.
Hey, she's taking video from us.
Hi. Maybe you're calm. I was standing over here on the clearance rack. I was recording. These two were over here talking, just gossiping, running their mouth. She's seen my camera and came up to me and told me what I can and cannot do and created a big scene. I'm not allowed to record because she's Muslim. I record my interactions in public. I was recording the clearance and she keeps trying to tell me what I can do. Please remove her from me so I can continue my shopping. I'm going to go over to the beauty section now. I just wanted to check out the clearance racks. I'm not deleting anything. Go back to work.
Okay. Now, I don't know. How many of you guys in the comments section kind of agree with the woman filming that she should not be told what to do? She is in a public space. And there are a lot of content creators out there. They'll go and my favorite ones are the guy that goes to Home Depot. I don't know who he is. And he finds like these items that are like for a penny or 10 cents or something ridiculous. And I think there was one time somebody tried to stop him and tried to take his cart. And he was like, no, these are my things. I paid for them. And she goes, I told you not to. And he was like, you can't tell me what to do. The manager comes over and he's like, yeah, you need to let go of his cart and let him go. Love it. Like I love videos like that. But this is what content creators do. And this is how they make their money. This is how they have their channels. And I think it was very awkward for this individual. Well, I'm Muslim. So what? What does that mean? What does that mean? Because you're Muslim, okay, you practice Islam, and we're in a free country. No religion is more than the other. Even though a lot of people will say, well, Christianity says they're the only Christian. But everybody's got their position, and everybody thinks their religion is the most important. But we live in a country where we have freedom of religion, right? You're free to say whatever you want to. Can you back it up? Is a question. I'm just saying. Can you substantiate that? Now, I am a Christian. I am a disciple. Ugh. Whew. Sorry, the cough. Again, I'm a disciple because according to Matthew 28:18-20, Jesus said, "Go make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I commanded you, and I will be with you surely to the very end of the age." That is Matthew 28:18-20. Boom. Jesus calls us to make disciples, teach them everything that he taught us, teaching us to obey, baptizing them in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you to the very end of the age. That's your call as a Christian. If you so decide, that's how you want to live. Period. The end. Now, with that said, we have freedom of religion in this country. I'm not going to go around telling people, well, you can't do this to me because I'm a Christian. What does that mean? The only status that I have is that I'm an American. You're either American or you're not. That's it. Truly, this woman is not from America because she thought she could just throw the word Muslim around like it meant something. It means nothing. It doesn't like that. Now, with that said, I'm going to play this next video of a shooting at a mosque. While apparently they're allegedly, because there still needs to be more information to come up, classifying this as a hate crime. Now, there have been other hate crimes that have been found out to have been fraudulent, which means somebody set it up to make it seem like it was a hate crime and it wasn't. Now, the two individuals that supposedly carried out this crime are no longer with us. They're no longer alive. So it's going to be very interesting to find out what the next steps are going to be in this case.
A horrifying mass shooting outside the Islamic Center of San Diego is now taking an even darker turn online after a disturbing alleged suicide video linked to the teen suspects began spreading rapidly across social media. Authorities say two teenage gunmen opened fire outside the mosque on May 18, killing 3 people, including a security guard, before both suspects were later found dead inside a white BMW just blocks from the scene. Investigators are currently treating the attack as a possible hate crime. The victims were targeted outside the Islamic Center, the largest mosque in San Diego County, while children attending classes inside the complex were forced to hide as gunfire erupted nearby. Police later confirmed all children were safely evacuated. Now, hours after the attack shocked America, a graphic video allegedly showing the final moments of the suspected shooters has exploded online. The clip, which is being circulated by an X account called, quote, Musty Chips, allegedly shows 17-year-old suspect Kane Clark sitting inside a vehicle wearing what appeared to be tactical-style clothing. The video appears to be recorded from a dashboard-mounted camera inside the car. In the disturbing footage, the individual believed to be Kane is first seen firing toward the passenger side of the vehicle before appearing to reload or adjust the weapon. Moments later, he shoots once more in the same direction, fueling speculation online that the second person inside the car may have been his alleged 18-year-old accomplice, Caleb Velasquez. The video then allegedly shows the suspect adjusting the firearm once more before turning the weapon on himself. The clip abruptly ends after the gunshot, with the individual collapsing forward inside the vehicle. The video is roughly 15 seconds long. At this stage, authorities have not officially confirmed the authenticity of the footage, nor verified who recorded it, how it surfaced online, or whether the individuals seen in the clip are definitively the two suspects involved in the mosque shooting. Social media users have also raised questions about the source of the footage, with one user directly commenting under the viral post asking, quote, "Where did you find this?" Meanwhile, investigators say anti-Islamic writings and references to, quote, racial pride were allegedly found connected to the suspects and their weapons, further intensifying fears this may have been a premeditated hate attack. As of early Tuesday, police say the investigation remains active. Federal agencies, including the FBI, are assisting, and the San Diego Muslim community remains on edge following one of the deadliest attacks on a mosque in recent American history.
At about 9:42 this morning, we received a call of a runaway juvenile. After speaking with the mom began to piece together bits and pieces of information over an extended period of time. The information that she was gathering and conveying to us began to elevate the threat level that we were perceiving with this information. She believed her son was suicidal, and she began to share information that several of her weapons were missing. Her vehicle was missing, in addition to her son. She also said that her son was with a companion, and that they were dressed in camo, and that is not consistent with what we would typically see from somebody that is suicidal. That began to trigger a larger threat assessment picture. We noted that there were hits with the vehicle down in Fashion Valley. We dispatched officers into the area of the mall as a possible location that was a threat. We also gathered information that one of the individuals was associated in some form or fashion with Madison High School. We alerted the school police department, and we dispatched officers into the area of Madison High School. While we were gathering this information and we were trying to zero in on where these individuals were at, we received the call at approximately 11:43 that there was an active shooter at the Islamic Center. Officers were in the area, still talking with mom, trying to piece together where they might be, locations that she felt that they would be at. And that was just a few blocks away. Those officers, once they heard what was happening at the Islamic Center, immediately dispatched themselves to the mosque. There was no specific threat to any facility or any place with what we knew. There was generalized hate rhetoric and speech. Mom believed that her son was suicidal, but the additional bits of information led us to believe that there was a bigger threat picture here that we needed to consider.
Like I said, it's very sad and very interesting what happens. Because like I said, I played that first video to kind of establish, there are different people of the Muslim community. Because I'm not going to broad brush it and say it's everybody. Because there are some people that are Muslim, you wouldn't even know that they were unless they said it. Where there are other people that act like, well, I'm Muslim. And it's like, well, what does that even mean? Like the way you're saying it, what does that even mean here? And then you have this hate crime that leads into, something completely different. What was the point? What happened? Where was the breakdown? You've got this mother talking about how her son was suffering from major depression. What was the intervention for that? If you have a child that is suffering mentally in that way, and you have weapons and your weapons are missing, your vehicle's missing. I mean, just so many things. But even prior to that, do we have an online trail that, I'm waiting for the manifesto of the reasons why this even occurred and what led up to this incident, because things don't happen like this without there being some form of paper trail, or at least a relationship trail where people are like, yeah, this person, we kind of saw things that could possibly occur, right? So I'm going to end our broadcast with the report from the Brown Report, and this is from Alex Jones Network.
There is a fear in your generation that the future has already been written, that the machines are coming, that the jobs are evaporating, that the climate is breaking, that politics is fractured, and that you are inheriting a mess that you did not create. The question is not whether AI will shape the world. It will. The question is whether you will help shape artificial intelligence. We do not know. We do not know the precise contours of what this transformation will look like. But what we do know is it will require each of us to adapt in ways that we cannot yet anticipate.
The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution.
What happened is you said the dirty word out loud.
Data centers are devouring American homes in a brazen land grab fueled by the technocracy's AI boom, and everyday families are paying the ultimate price.
Imagine you work for a $2 billion company and you roll up to work one morning and you find out that your 401k contribution will no longer be matched by the company because they are interested in putting that measly amount for their employees, that little itty bit for a $2 billion company, into AI research, AI processes in the name of efficiency. And then you read what your company's spokespeople say and they go, this is actually a positive signal in the labor market. This is good. This is an investment back in our people for their long-term future.
Across the United States, utility giants and big tech allies are wielding eminent domain like a club, bulldozing generational properties under the guise of progress and energy needs. Sold as innovation, now revealing itself as a ruthless corporate takeover, where your backyard, your farm, or your childhood home becomes collateral damage for server farms that guzzle power like there's no tomorrow. This assault is hitting hard in states like Georgia, where Georgia Power is targeting families in Coweta County to clear paths for massive transmission lines, supporting a $17 billion data center project in neighboring Fayette County.
Although nobody in this town wants a damn data center, our commissioners still approved it. So therefore, Georgia Power is using easement rights to force homeowners, longtime homeowners, old homeowners, into selling their family properties and their family homes so they can be torn down and power lines be extended to support these data centers.
Similar nightmares are unfolding in Pennsylvania, where rural families like Brenda Rizzo's 101-acre farm stare down 240-foot towers for AI data centers. Nationwide, the scale is staggering. Nearly 3,000 new data centers under construction or proposed, piling onto thousands already operating, with rural America bearing the brunt.
Construction is either in final planning or even in progress in a ton of not so remote areas. Forget the ones that are already built already. There's thousands of them all over the country, but you have Phoenix, Arizona, Atlanta, Georgia. Actually, that's becoming like one of the biggest major hubs with dozens more planned. Columbus, Ohio, Reno, Nevada, Quincy, Washington, El Paso, Texas, Santa Teresa, New Mexico, Imperial County, California, Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, Kansas City, Missouri, and one of the biggest ones, Salt Lake City. They want to build one there that is twice the size of Manhattan. Now, despite residents vehemently opposing this, like they went to the town hall meeting and they were like, no. Everybody was like, no. Somehow, it was unanimously approved by the Box Elder County Commission.
For hell's sake, grow up.
And this is why you need to run for local positions, to shut this down. Start taking names. Because, see, these are the same people that are going to say, vote for me, vote for me. Absolutely not. Absolutely.
These hyperscale behemoths demand insane portions of electricity and land. Wake up, America. Your deed means nothing when the New World Order grid demands it. John Bound reporting for the Alex Jones Network.
Yeah. And what needs to be done, like I said, people need to start running local, and you need to start taking the names of these people who are making these decisions for you when you've told them no. Vote them out. See, they need your vote. They do. They need your vote to stay in office, especially at the local level, because a lot of these local elections, they matter. They matter at the local level because that's how these data centers are becoming a thing. Now, I'm not opposed to a mass class action lawsuit against Georgia Power for what they're doing. I'm not opposed to running these whoever's on the council, commissioners here in Georgia, running them literally out of town for making a decision that affects all of our lives. And we didn't vote for this. I'm not opposed to going to the state dolezal, even though you're not going to be you may not get elected, and because you're not, are you in the runoff? I think you're in the runoff. If you're in the runoff and you get this lieutenant governor position, like, hey, look at John Kennedy. If you become the next lieutenant governor, sir, we want to know what you're going to do about this. Burt Jones, if you become the governor, we want to know what you're going to do about this. You have to shut this down. You have to. But you might not. Because, see, Donald Trump is for the data centers. He is. He's for all this AI nonsense. Yeah. So what happens? Again, the local level is what we need to really focus on to get these matters taken care of. So I appreciate you guys joining me here on Women in Wellness Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow with Mighty Men Thursday. It again is open mic. So if you would like to join me, please send me a direct message on X. My handle is It's Our Turn RP, or send me an email to unfilteredvisionnews@gmail.com. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.